Hello there, welcome to Vaudeville Manor, House of Art and Tarot. I'm Sally, an artist who has developed a keen interest for tarot cards in the last couple of years, and today I'm going to be reviewing one of my favourite decks, the Phantomwise Tarot by Erin Morgenstern, who is the author of the best-selling book The Night Circus. The review is going to be broken into a couple of sections. I'm going to start with a flip through, so if you don't want to hear me yakking on, then you can just see what the cards look like, and then I will follow that with some more detailed information, so cardstock, how it is to shuffle, a little bit about the artwork and what the readings are like. I have done a smaller review on this deck in my full deck review where I talked about all of the decks that I have, but this one is going to be a little bit more in-depth, and I've been using the deck this month, and so kind of what it's like to use is very fresh in my mind. So without further ado, let's dive into the flip through. So I hope you found the flip through useful and to get a real flavour of what these cards are about in terms of their style and imagery. We're now going to move into the specifications section, which is all those things that tarot deck collectors want to know. So what the box is like, cardstock, details about who it's by, etc, etc. And I'll also give an opinion about my experience of the readings that these cards have given me. So let's dive in. Starting with the box then, this is really nicely presented. It has a really nice kind of matte black finish with this really nice gold foil leaf design, picking up the details, which I believe, yes, are on the back of the cards, and we'll talk about them later. It is a rigid box, as I said, and it has this nice red interior. We've got a little ribbon here to pull out the cards, and actually this one has survived. A lot of my rigid boxes have ended up sort of being bashed in the corner, but this one's still in pretty good nick. That's what it looks at the side, and then on the back here you have some examples of the cards and a little bit of blurb about the deck itself. So yeah, really nicely presented. Now the book has similar dimensions to the box, reasonable thickness for the information that it contains. There is a bit of an introduction which introduces you to the world of the Phantomwise Tarot, this idea that you are pretty much going down an Alice in Wonderland style rabbit hole, as depicted in the full card. There's some general guidance as to how to use the cards, and then further on in the book you have spreads. I think she's given you 3 spreads, so like an alternative way of doing the 3 card spread. I haven't actually done that one yet. Then you have the Celestial Navigation spread. I really like this one because this is the idea that if you are sailing in through uncertain waters, so i.e. maybe it's a rocky part of a relationship that's not going quite right, which is a little bit uncertain, or maybe you're starting to do a new project and you're not sure which way to take it, you could use this spread to help you unpick some of those concerns. I actually did this spread quite recently, and I think about 4 or 5 of the 6 cards were sword cards, which was definitely a wake-up call for me. Nobody wants to have a load of sword cards in their reading. And then there's this down the rabbit hole spread, which again is leading on from this idea of being the Fool, and each of the cards are assigned either the Fool, aspects of, you know, Alice in Wonderland fundamentally, and there's some animals that repeat through the deck, and they've been assigned meanings to the cards in this deck, and this is quite an interesting one to do as well, perhaps if you found yourself a little bit lost, or you feel yourself going into a new world, as it were. So these are quite fun, these spread suggestions. And then as I mentioned in my other review of this deck, in my when I was doing all of my decks, there's a really nice Erin Morgenstern just talks about how she came up with this deck and how it was interlinked very, very closely with her best-selling book, The Night Circus. And there are some of the characters, if you're familiar with this book, that is, you will see that there is maybe an overlap with some of the characters that you find in the deck. For instance, when I looked at the Magician card, that it really did kind of resonate with how I'd sort of pictured her description of the magician in the book, and she does say in this author's note that she kind of did the two together, and she can't even remember what came first, the tarot designs or the characters, which, you know, in terms of expanding worlds, I thought that was a really interesting idea. In terms of the pictures, I did mention in my other review, and I'll say it again because I think I'm using a slightly better quality camera this time, is that although it's a black and white book, because the cards are black and white, there are kind of nuanced tones. So in this judgment card, I don't know if you can see that, it's not just a kind of a whitey grey, there are tinges of yellow there. And so this book, even though it's black and white, it does pick up on slightly different you know, the different shades of grey that come within that. So and it's nice quality. So in comparison, a lot of the Hay House publications, this is the Enchanted for Haxa Tarot, it is simply black and white. There's no kind of subtle yellowy tones or whatever. So so yeah, I think the quality in here, and it also has that sort of sheen, that sort of glossy sheen as well, which sort of increases the quality level, and I quite like having good quality images in my tarot books, if I'm honest. Now, one of the things I like about this book is that Erin Morgenstern has given a little summary of the sort of energies that you can expect to find in each of the suits. So here for the suit of wands, we're in the realm of fire, things that may be encountered in this realm, inspirations, ignited passions, volatile energy, tools for manifestation, creativity, curious cats. And I'm actually going to talk about her use of animals later on in the design part of this review. And the other thing I'd mention is that there's a decent description of the meaning of the cards. It's worthy noting that she hasn't included reversals for her meanings, because I don't think she uses them herself. Yes, it actually says in the author note here, I have not included reverse meanings because I do not personally use reversals. Okay, let's talk about the cardstock. And in my other review, I talked about the fact that one of my biggest gripes with this deck, because I do pretty much love it, the only thing that really bugs me is the texture. And again, I'm trying to, oh, actually, yeah, you can see if I just bend this card back a little bit, there's all these like little bobbles here, because they've printed it on this kind of slightly thicker but textured paper, which is fine. But I don't know if you noticed when I was doing the flip through, some of the cards I was struggling to sort of move about, and yeah, I don't know if you can hear that, they sort of make this sort of, yeah, grating noise as the sort of textures are rubbing against each other, which is fine. But yeah, when you're trying to sort of pull them apart, it is a little bit grippy. Yeah, so I'm still, if I'm honest, not a fan of the textured grippy card. So yeah, when you bring the whole deck together, actually, because they're thick cards, actually it does make the whole deck feel quite bulky as well. Shuffling's not too bad, but I don't know, I just find them a bit clunky to shuffle compared to some of the cards which are a little bit thinner, and as I've mentioned before, because I've got ridiculously small hands, just anything that involves a lot of bulk is just a bit difficult for me to shuffle. But that's my opinion. You know, you might not be bothered by the textured paper. Now, as I said, this is a predominantly black and white deck with some kind of nuanced sort of shading in it. I showed this earlier, but I'm going to show it again. This is the back of the card, which is this lovely ornate pattern done in sort of mirrored, so whether you want to use reversals or not. As I mentioned earlier, the booklet doesn't give any reversed meanings, but it is compatible with Rider-Waite-Smith, so you could probably use the traditional reversal meanings if you use reversals. Now, I previously mentioned in my other video that the designs are quite simple, particularly when you compare them to some of the other decks that I have. So I'm thinking the Enchanted for Haxa and the Forest of Enchantment, and if you'd like an example of those, then check out my previous video. However, after using this deck a little bit more this month, I still stand by the fact that actually the simple images give very strong readings, and I'll talk a bit more about the readings later on. Now, the only caveat to this is the 4 ace cards, which are probably the most simple cards in the deck, and they really just have something to symbolize the 4 suits, and perhaps she did that to you know, introduce each suit in her own mind. The reason I struggle with these is because I'm still learning. I do struggle to remember all of the meanings. So if we take the Fool card, for instance, that's got a lot of visual clues to sort of give you an idea of what is going on here. Whereas where you just have the symbols, I don't know, you just, and these sort of swirls, I don't know, I just find it a little bit harder to gain meaning for that particular card. And maybe as I become more experienced, I will gel with these cards a little bit more. And I just think, for me personally, I would have liked a bit more input in terms of some visual clues to help convey the message of these cards a little bit more. But having said that, the rest of the deck is an absolute delight, and I did mention the use of animals. So let's just take the Suit of Cups. Now, these are littered with these very cute and delightful bunnies who look like they're having an absolute ball in all of the cards, having their tea party here and just having lots of fun. This idea of sort of family and togetherness and happiness, and I think this image really captures that idea perfectly. And then in the Pentacles we have dogs, and I just love this little poodle performing for the Page of Pentacles. And there's various different dogs in the Pentacle designs. With the Wands, she's gone with cats. So we have the 6 of Wands here, our cat that, you know, is being celebrated for his or her prize. And this is just poor cat being used as a piñata here. And then in the Swords we have some good old crows, and I really love this one with the crows all looking forward as they move to their next direction. And there's just so much, although they're very simply drawn, I just feel like there's so much personality in them. And she has continued the theme of animals for each of the Knight cards as well. I particularly like the giant bunny for the Knight of Cups. Interestingly, rather than sticking with the crows for the sword suit, or for the Knight of Swords, we've got this sort of griffin creature here, and I'm kind of curious as to why she didn't do a giant crow, because I think that would have been loads of fun. But then we've got some kind of large cat, kind of panther, and then this big shaggy woolly dog, which I just think these are great. Now, this is a deck loosely based on Rider-Waite-Smith, as she explains in her author's notes. So I just thought I'd show you where some of the cards are similar and then where she's taken a bit more artistic license. So a couple of examples here of where they're very similar, taking the iconic heart being sliced by the 3 of Swords, and then the 8 of Wands, these wands travelling in space, and where they become different. So we've got the Death card, which is really quite different here, you know, from this more masculine skeletal figure to presumably a female that's hiding her face. And I actually love the description for the death card, which is a figure sits high upon a stone wall, their visage obscured by a large striped umbrella. A scythe decorated with ribbons rests in their lap, ready to bring endings and celebrate new beginnings. This is a time of great change and transformation. A storm passes and leaves something new in its wake. A transition, a letting go, a time to cut out which no longer serves, to release the past, make room for new things, growth and rebirth. And I seem to remember in the book there is a scene where there is this big rainstorm and umbrella, and presumably, as with a lot of the deck, those ideas have fed into each other. And just one more example, we have the Moon card, which again is quite different, mostly because we've had a switch from dogs to a sort of sleepy cat here, and then it doesn't have all of the other main symbols, such as the Scorpio and the landscape, but I still feel that we do get this idea of sort of going inwards and shadowlands, and if you look really closely, you will notice that there are some sneaky crows watching the poor sleeping cat. So yes, so yeah, there are a lot of similarities, but she has taken some creative artistic license on some of the cards. But I think that's what makes individual decks so interesting, because people do interpret the meanings of the cards very differently. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed my analysis of this deck, and I hope it's given you a clearer insight into what to expect should you buy this deck if you don't already have it. But what is the deck like to use as a tool for divination? Well, I still believe that it's really quite an intuitive deck, and it's just something about the way the images have been created. It really helps, and I know all tarot does this, but particularly for me, I find that there's just something about these images that help to tap in to the more shadowy parts of the imagination. And I wouldn't necessarily call this a shadow deck, but you're definitely putting your little toe in there, if you like, just to sort of feel what it might be like to sort of be in a more shadowy place. Or maybe that's just the readings that I've had, and maybe that's just the message that I've needed to hear. I've had a very strong, clear message from these cards this month, and I've just been looking through my journal to remind myself what the cards have been telling me. As I said, I did one reading and it was mostly swords, which was a really interesting wake-up call, and I think since doing that reading I've kind of got back on track, and I'll just read some of the things that I've written. So using the Down the Rabbit Hole spread, I pulled the Six of Wands, I pulled the Six of Swords, Nine of Swords, Seven of Swords, Eight of Swords, 10 of Swords, 7 of Cups and 4 of Swords. Now, I kid you not, I shuffled these cards, I fanned them out, picked them from random places in the fan, and just to get all of those swords was a bit like, oh crikey. And when I do my readings, I like to do a visual interpretation first before I look at the meaning. So I ascertained from that spread, which was too many ideas and distractions will lead to burnout and time needed to recover. And I should say I did this shortly after being quite unwell for about a week, and I did write, perhaps this has already happened, and I was getting a bit distracted. So I'd got to a certain part with these tarot cards that I'm designing, and because I'd spent so much time on the computer, I thought, yeah, I kind of need a bit of break. And then I thought, oh, maybe I'll make one of the dolls. I like to make life difficult for myself. And also I'd sold a couple of dolls as well, and I thought, oh, maybe I should be doing that. And I think basically the cards are saying, look, just focus on one thing and worry about the dolls later. Just get this deck designed. And then the following reading I did after that, so yeah, currently living with intuition and ideas. A drastic change is needed to progress. Rest and attention to details are needed to feel ready to fight my battle, which is my ongoing wanting to sort of get these creative projects out there in order to reach the goal. So again, it's sort of saying it in a slightly different way, but basically I just need to knuckle down and to do the work, which I have all these good intentions, but I do get distracted really easily. So I'm really grateful for the message that these readings have given me, and it has helped me to sort of I didn't even think I was in a rut, but clearly I was, and I feel a lot more motivated to pursue this now. So if you want a really kind of honest but not judgy kind of reading, I think these cards are great for that. But also they tell you what you really need to know, and I think they delve into your, you know, if you think about the Moon card, those sort of fears and anxieties that we sort of suppress, I think it's very good for drawing them out. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this deck, and particularly if you loved the Night Circus, it helps to expand that world for sure. Thank you so much for joining me today for this full deck review. I hope you found that useful, and perhaps it's inspired you to get the deck, or maybe I said something which has put you off. Whichever the case is, do leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this deck, particularly if you've used it and if you had the same experience as me. If you're new to the channel, do consider subscribing. I do regular deck reviews, and I'm also designing my very first tarot deck, which is called the Tremendous Tuxedo Circus. My last video was an update of the cards that I've designed so far, so if that sounds of interest to you, I will put the link up in the corner here. If the review was helpful today, please give it a like. Thanks again for watching, and until the next video, I'll see you very soon. Bye bye.